the next speaker. We now have the greatest stalwart, the icon of polymath scholarship of all the times, of particularly of contemporary times. He is a celebrity, polymath, versatile, ambidextrous, multi-genius icon of contemporary times. For the topic of the day, I'll introduce Satavadhani Ganesh ji. Dr. Satavadhani R. Ganesh, born 1962 in Bengaluru, is one of India's foremost Sanskrit poets and scholars. He writes and lectures extensively on various subjects pertaining to India and Indian cultural heritage. He is a master of the ancient art of Avadhanam, where he faces a group of 8 in Astavadhanam or 100 in Satavadhanam questioners. In response to their many queries, composes extempore poems set to meter, solves poetic challenges, solves a magic square, keeps track of count of randomly rung bell, and so forth. Dr. Ganesh performs Avadhanam primarily in Kannada, Sanskrit, and Telugu. He is credited with reviving the art in Kannada. He has performed more than 1,200 Astavadhanams and 5 Satavadhanams thus far. He is fluent in several languages, including Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, Hindi, Greek, Latin, and Italian. He is well versed in the Vedas, Vedangas, Upanishads, Dharma Shaastra literature, various classical texts on the arts like the Natya Shaastra, and literature in classical Sanskrit. Dr. Ganesh holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in metallurgy as well as in Sanskrit. Hampi University awarded him a D.Litt for his thesis, Kannadadalli Avadhana Kale. Tumkur University awarded him an honorary doctorate, D.Litt. He is recipient of several awards and recognitions, including Badarayana Vyasa Puraskar from the President of India for his contribution to the Sanskrit language. In the year 2022, the Central Sahitya Academy Award for the Best Sanskrit Translation was conferred to him. He was honored with the Rajyosava Award by the Karnataka government in 1992. The highest recognition from the state. Recently, he was honored with the fellowship Shaastra Chudamani from the Central Sanskrit University, Delhi. Also, he was honored with the Kalidasa Award from the Kavikula Guru Kalidasa Sanskrit University, Nagpur, in the year 2020. He is actually such a celebrity all over Karnataka. We don't see generally scholars becoming celebrities. He's a very rare example of a scholarship getting a celebrity status to certain personalities. Satavadhani Ganesh ji is...
Om Tat Sat. Chidananda Kalam Vanim Vande Chandra Kaladharam Nirmalya Taratam Yena Bimbitam Chitta Bhittishu. Salutations to one and all. Suprabhatam. The topic is very interesting, and I don't know to what extent I can do justice to this topic, as it has to deal with some of my humble achievements and long time pursuits in the area of Shaastras, Kavyas, fine arts, and Indic learning. So I request all the listeners to bear with my presentation. If the word I, me comes then and again, you please forget it and forgive it as well. So it is purely for the technical purpose of this topic. I will be bringing my work and my concepts and some of my ideas. Being a polymath and becoming a polyglot is a great thing which is revered in our tradition. Since time immemorial, in our tradition, they have many Bahubhashajñas and Bahushastrajñas as well. and poets composing in many languages, Shastrajñas being well versed in so many Shastras, and many poets becoming scholars in many disciplines. These are all very common in Indian tradition. Nowadays, we may get wondered by these things, but our tradition had already anticipated that, and we have paved a lot of beautiful avenues in this regard as well. We have two dictums. They are apparently contradicting, and yet they are complementing. One is Ekam Janmani, Ekam Shastram. One Shastra in one Janma. One lifetime is not sufficient to understand and explore and imbibe all the aspects of one Shastra. This is the import of this particular dictum. And the other one is Ekam Shastra Madhiyano Nagachet Shastra Nirnayam. If a person is well versed in one Shastra, for all practical purposes, he has no knowledge and no capability even to make a decision in his own chosen area of specialization. It means we need multifarious learning and multidisciplinary learning to make decisions in a particular area of chosen specialization as well. This statement may seem to be contradicting with the earlier one, but really it is not so. Because in our tradition, one tongue was not respected as the real tongue. In the words of Milton, we have the famous statement, one tongue is not a tongue. That also with our poets and our scholars as well. And so also, one Vidya is not sufficient. Many Vidyas should get combined and work for the illumination of a particular aspect of any Vidya. And that's why we have Padavakya Pramana, Paravarinas, Shatshastra Kovidas, Chatushastra Panditas, Ashtabhasha Vishardas, Ashtadasha Bhasha Vichardas, like that. And we know a very well-known statement, Bebhet Kalpat Shruta Vedaha Mamayam Praharedi. Even the Veda is scared of people who are Alpashrutas, not initiated into many sciences and arts. Kautilya, while dealing with his Arthashastra, while giving an expository notes of Arthashastra and composing the monumental work Arthashastra in the very beginning chapter itself, he says, Vidyas Chatasro Vidyaha. There, Trayi Varta Anvikshi Dandaniti, like that. And Rajshekara, who came after almost 1400 years after Kautilya, he had Sahityam Panchami Vidya. And we have Chaturdasha Vidyasthana. By the time of Kalidasa itself, it was very well known. In the Raghumsham 5th canto, we get to know about that. But by the time of Madhusudana Saraswati Bhagavad, who composed the Pasthana Veda, Madhusudana Saraswati, he says there are 18 Vidyasthanas. That includes, apart from the 4 Vedas, 6 Vedangas, 4 Upavedas, and Itihasa, Dharmashastra, Mimamsa, and Nyayavistara, like that. So this list goes on, it's a never-ending list. Abhinav Gupta, who hailed from Kashmir, was a Sarvatantra Swatantra. And much before Abhinav Gupta, we have Vachaspati Mishra from Mithila. He was also a Sarvatantra Swatantra. Perhaps the first in the recorded history was Vachaspati Mishra, who composed dependable and illuminating treatises, commentaries on all the 6 systems of philosophy. Though he being a Vedantin, he composed works on Mimamsa, Nyaya, Sankhya, Vaisheshika, Yoga, and other things. And then we have perhaps in the area of mathematics, I think it is from the Siddhanta Shiromani or Leelavati, the first chapter, first book of Siddhanta Shiromani, authored by Bhaskaracharya. There at the end we have one very interesting verse, Ashtav Vyakaranani, Sapta Bishajam Vyachashtata Samhitaha, Shattarkan Ganitani Pancha, Chaturo Vedana Dhitesmaha, Ratnanam Pratayam Dvayancha Bubude Mivansayorantaram, Tadbrahmaikam Agada Bodha Mahima, Sosyat Kavit Bhaskaraha. This poet Bhaskara, a great mathematician, knew Vyakarana, 8 systems of Vyakarana, 7 systems of medicine, and then he could give expository notes and commentaries on 6 various samhitas, and then 6 various systems of logic, that is philosophy, and then 5 systems of mathematics, Panchasiddhantas, all the 4 Vedas he knew, and then the 3 Nastika Darshanas, and then the 2 Mimamsas, Purvottara Mimamsa, and the 1 Parabrahman. All that he knew, and that was the capability of the poet and mathematician Bhaskara, like that. And from Andhra Pradesh, we know a great Mahamahopadhyaya from Kolachala hailed is Malinath Suri, and in every commentary of him, we have a wonderful verse which shows his prowess not only in various Shaastras but also the way of presenting them. Vanim Kana Bhuji Maji Gadadava Shakitcha Vagya Vayazikim Antaspantra Maramsta Pannaga Gavi Gumpechu Shajagarit Vachamakala Rahasya Makilam Yachakshapad Spuram Loke Bhut Yedupajnameva Vidusham Saujanya Janyam Yashaha. Malinatha says, if there are other scholars in his times, it's only because of the modesty of himself. This is a very, very suggestive verse as well. And then they have, again, going back to Abhinavgupta, he studied under so many gurus, not less than 22 gurus, and even many other gurus, which have been given by the oral tradition. He was taught by so many great scholars, including his father, Narasimha Gupta, Bhattatota, Bhattenduraja, and Bhuttiraja, and many, many people who taught Vyakarna, Vedanta, Shaiva Darshana, Tantra, Alankara Shastra, Nisiddhanta, Natya Shastra, many, many such things. And that's why he says, Tatyame Sarvashishyasya Nopadesha Daridrata. And of course, his devout student, Kshemendra, following the footsteps of the Guru, he says, Kshemendra Sarva Manisha Shishya is an obedient student of all scholars. And while enlisting 100 qualities, 100 virtues, and 100 learnings which are needed for a poet in his Kavikanta Bharana, Kshemendra says, Vitpatye Sarvashishyata, one should become a student to everyone. He should become Jagat Shishya. The Jagat itself is Guru, and he should become Jagat Shishya or Jagat Guru. Jagadeva Yasya Guruhu Saha Jagat Guruhu, like that. So, Vyutpatti Sarvashishyata, that is what Kshemendra proclaims. And after Kshemendra, you have Vedanta Deshika, Sarvatantra Swatantra, another great Sarvatantra Swatantra Kavitartika Simha. He says, before completing 20, by the age of 19 itself, he had learned so many Shaastras, Vimshatyabde Vishruta Nanavida Vidya, Vimshadvaram Shravida Shariraka Bhashyaha. He had taught Ramanuja Bhagavad Shariraka Bhashya, that is Shri Bhashyam, 30 times, even before completing 20. And Jagannatha Pandita Raja, he says his father, Peram Bhatta, was well versed in all the major Shastra, Darshan Shastra, Vyakarana, and other subjects. Srimad Jnanendra Bhikshor Adhigata, Sakala Brahma Vidya Prapancha, Kanadi, Rakshapadi, Rapi Gahana Giro, Yo Mahendra, Avedi, Deva Devadhigishta, Marahara Nagare, Shastran Jaiminiyam, Sheshanka Prapta Sheshamala Bhanitar, Abhut Sarvavidya Dharoyaha, Pashanad Piyusham, Sindate Yat Prabhavataha, Samvande Perubhattakyam, Lakshmi Kantam Mahagurum, like that he says. And Rajshekara, he says, to become Kaviraja, one should be adept in composing verses in all the languages, all the Prakrits, and all the regional languages, and of course Sanskritam. And Vishwanatha of 14th century, who hailed from Utkala, Vishwanath Kaviraja, he says, for Ashtadasha Bhasha Vara Vilasini Bhujanga, he used to have his dalliance with 18 different languages who were treated as his beloved heroines. And Nachana Somana from Andhra Pradesh, who also belonged to Karnataka, who was Ashtabhasha Chakravarti, and many poets from Andhra and Karnataka, they were all Chaturbhasha Kavis or Ashtabhasha Kavis, and so also from Tamil Nadu, they have Chaturbhasha Kavis like that. And Anandavardhana is a great Alankarika, perhaps the best Alankarika from India. He was a grammarian who knew poetics in depth and who was a philosopher who knew Vedanta, Tantra, Shaiva, and Vaishnavagamas. And he was an adept in Buddhist philosophy also, and he wrote a treatise on Buddhism, Pramana Vinishchaya, Vartika Tika, like that. So, in the chosen area of Alankara, Shastra, where I have worked, that is Indian poetics, in general, it can be treated as Indian aesthetics, where we have, starting from Bhamaha, many scholars, poets, and Alankarikas. Bhamaha was a Nayayika, apart from being an Alankarika. And Vamana was a great Vyakarana. He wrote Kashika along with Jayaditya. And Mamata used to be hailed as a eulogized as the Vagdevata Avatara, knowing so many subjects. And in the Kavya Prakash of Mamata, we get to know about his prowess in Pada Vakya Pramana Shaastra. Bhojaraja, another polymath and polyglot, who composed 84 works. Unfortunately, not all have come to light. And here he has written works on Vyakarna, Vedanta, Shaiva Darshana, Yoga, Sankhya, Ayurveda, Alankara Shastra, Natya Shastra, Sangeeta Shastra, Jyotisha, Rajaniti, and then architecture and whatnot. So many works. And every work of him goes with his title. Raja Pradanka, Raja Martanda, Vidvajana Vallabha, Yukti Kalpataru, Saraswati Kantabharana, Shungar Prakasha. All these are the titles of him, and also they become the titles of his works like that. And come to Vijayanagar, we have Vidyaranya Swami, and then Sayanacharya, who were polymaths and polyglots, and they were adept in sciences and arts as well. They were great artists who knew playing veena and had the understanding of in and out of Natya, and of course Veda Bhashyas. The production is uncomparable. It's a paramount production. Along with that, we have writings like Chaiviniya Nyayamala and commentary Vistara, and Vayasika Nyayamala, and again commentary Vistara, and then Sayana Subhashita Sudhanidhi, Alankara Sudhanidhi, and then Purushastra Sudhanidhi, Ayurveda Sudhanidhi, Prayashchitta Sudhanidhi, like that encyclopedic works. And then Vidyaranya wrote Panchadashi, and then Vivarana Prameya Sangraha, Jivan Mukti Viveka, many works connected with Vedanta. And Sayanacharya wrote Madhviya Dhatuvritti. It became a milestone in grammar like that. We have great tradition where so many people, so many scholars, and so many tapasvis, they were polymaths and polyglots. And then we have this tradition being highlighted even in our Purana. For example, in Vishnudharmottara Purana, a beautiful story goes where King Vajra approaches the sage Markandeya to know about the highest truth. Then Markandeya says that the highest truth is nothing but Nirguna, Nirakara, Parabrahma. And it is very difficult to comprehend, and that's why it has to be considered the level of Saguna and Sakara, that is Saguna Brahma. For that, we have to worship the images, and how to make the images. To sculpt an image or even to cast it, we have to first draw the sketch. And to draw the sketch, we should know moving painting, that is Natya. And to know Natya, we should have the sense of rhythm, Tala. And to know Tala, we should have the sense of Raga and Nada. And to know Nada, we should first understand Sahitya, because along with the Sahitya, Raga goes hand in hand. And to know Sahitya, we need language, Vyakarna, and other things. And to understand language, it's the simplest way. We have to go to the Paravak. And Paravak is nothing but Anahatanaga and Omkara, and that leading to Shabda Brahma, and Shabda Brahma to Kevala Brahma. That's the cycle. That is the cycle which is being completed. Like that, in our tradition, we have so many anecdotes, so many stories, and so many analogies, so many examples that have been given, so that this tradition of Bahushastrajnata and Bahubhashajnata is heralded. And the same thing happened in my case also. In my own humble way, since my childhood, I started developing interest in various languages, fine arts, and other subjects. Before me going to the school, I had a good lot of understanding of 3 languages: Tamil, Kannada, and Telugu. As Tamil was our family language, kitchen language, of course, and Kannada, the area where I stayed, the state where I stayed, and still I'm living there. Since generations we are staying here, and that's why Kannada has become my mother tongue in the real sense. And then my father's side, because my father's ancestors had migrated to Andhra and then they came back to Karnataka, I get to know about Telugu as well. So 3 languages were imbibed even before going for learning the alphabets. And then in the schooling, I get to know about 3 more languages along with the Kannada. One is, of course, English, the other one is Hindi, and then Sanskrit. And then when I entered my PU days, +2 or college days, I started developing more and more interest in learning different languages as I was studying Sanskrit plays like Shakuntala, Uttaram Charita, and then Mrichakatika especially, and then Swapnavasavadatta, such masterly works where Prakrits of various forms, various Prakrit dialects were freely used, especially in Mrichakatika, we have so many Prakrits. I started developing interest in Prakrit languages, so started knowing the nuances of Shoraseni or Maharashtri, and going to Gatha Saptashati and reading that in the original. And then by virtue of knowing Prakrit, I get to know about Buddhism and Jainism. As I was interested in Indian systems of philosophy, I started developing interest in the original treatises of Jainism and Buddhism. That's how I got to know something regarding Ardhamagadi and Pali, or Magadi as it is called in Tripitakas. And so Pali was very convenient for me to understand the original message of the Buddha by going to the Tripitakas as well. And then by my 18th year, I got to know more about the Western languages, as I was very much interested in European history, European art history, and European culture, and especially the pagan culture of Europe, because they are distant cousins of Sanatana Dharmis. And that's why to know the real culture of Europe, which is eclipsed by the Semitic religions, I wanted to go to the sources. And there I have to learn Greek and Latin, as I was very fond of works of Mahakavi Homer and Virgil. I learned through the help of books Greek and Latin. And then Greek and Latin gave way to Italian. And by that course, I wanted to complete the course of studying Panchamahakavyas of the West. As we know, in India, we have Panchamahakavyas in Sanskrit, the two epics of Kalidasa and the three works of Bharavi, Magha, and Sriharsha. They put together become Panchamahakavyas. Even in Telugu, we have such Panchamahakavya tradition, and even in Karnataka, we have such Panchamahakavya tradition. And we have Panchamaha, Champus, Panchamaha, Rupakas, like that in Sanskrit. We have so many Panchamaha Kritis. And the same logic was applied by me to the Western classics also. And that's why two epics of Homer and one of Virgil and one of Dante and one of Milton, that put together became Panchamahakavya of the West. So as I had knowledge of English, Greek, Latin, and Italian, I could read these original epics and get to know about how paganism got changed into Semitism and what are the repercussions of that and all. While studying these languages and imbibing this, some of the North Indian languages also, working knowledge of Marathi or Bengali or a bit of Gujarati, and of course Hindi was well known to me. In that way, few languages of India and classical languages of India and classical languages of Europe, they all made me turn towards a relationship between various languages. So this rounded personality of mine with regards to language made me open-minded, and this is how I could appreciate all the literature in various languages. And at the same time, I could prioritize them. Appreciating is one thing. Many people end with it, but you have to prioritize. And that's why we have great sciences like Alankara Shaastra, where we have to make a hierarchy. We all know, even in the Advaita Vedanta, we have Adhikari Bheda, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, but at the same time, we have Adhikari Bheda, and Adhikari Bheda is connected with Auchitya of Alankara Shastra. How to make a preference between these works and these languages. In that regard, I came to know that Sanskrit is the best language as far as poetry is concerned, as it has unimaginable word power and unimaginable number of meters, so melodious and beautiful meters when compared to other languages, both of India and Europe, and even the other non-European languages. Just for curiosity of learning, though I don't know Japanese or Chinese, other languages, I studied the prosody of those languages in translations and get to know about the nature of that meters, those meters. And all that revealed me, including Indian languages, whether it is Tamil or Malayalam or Hindi or Gujarati or Maithili, Bhojpuri, all these regional languages, regional dialects, and the folk meters, all that made me understand that there are three types of meters. One, Vitana meters, and the other one, Satana meters. In Satana, we have two varieties. One, the Matrika meters, that is Matra Jatis, and the other Karshana Jatis. So ultimately, we have three types of meters. Vitana or Layarahita, which don't follow the pattern of Tala, and Satana, which follow the Talic patterns essentially. But at the same time, when the Gurus and Lagus are pronounced as they are, then if they reveal their rhythm, that is Talic pattern, then they are Matra Jatis. If they are not revealing their nature unless Karshana, that is elongation at the right place, is being carried out, then they are called Karshana meters. So all these things I could know by virtue of understanding Sanskrit prosody and other things. And there, the great guiding light was Yadiyappa Krishna Bhatta, a polyglot and polymath, Shastrajna from Karnataka, who was a grammarian, was a prosodist, and a poet of high merit, and was a first-rate research scholar. His Chandogati, a monumental work, it can be treated on par with Dhvanyaloka of Anandavardhana in the area of prosody and Kavi Mimamsa. That way, I could know. That's so my understanding and knowledge of Sanskritam and Sanskrit tradition, along with the other languages, helped me knowing the real essence of prosody. Likewise, it happened in the case of poetics also. As starting from Bharata to Jagannatha and even later Alankarikas, I had read most of the important works, major or minor, in Alankara Shastra. At the same time, I read Aristotle, Horace, and then Longinus, all these people from the West, and later scholars like I.A. Richards, T.S. Eliot, Middleton Murray, and then Crochet, like that, many Western aestheticians and poeticians whose works I could enjoy and prioritize how best they are when compared with our Anandavardhana, Rajana Gupta, Kuntaka, Mammata, Jagannatha, such people. So this comparison made me stronger and I became more rooted in my tradition. And at the same time, because of my knowledge of Kannada, Hindi, and other languages, I could know how our poets and our scholars in regional languages, they have conducted studies in poetics. For example, Kuvempu, a great poet from Karnataka, how original he is with respect to poetics. And also Puti Narasimhacharya, another great poet of Karnataka. So also Ramchandra Shukla of Hindi, or Nagendra again of Hindi. Such critics who have propounded newer and newer theories, to what extent they are valued, in what way they can be compared and contrasted with Rasa, Dhvani, Auchitya, Vakrata, and others. Like that, this way of understanding, it became more stronger and clearer. This is how my knowledge of the Shastra, of our Parampara, that helped me know my own people's writing, who were also rooted in the tradition, at the same time getting exposed to the Western or modern learning, and then enriching that using that language, capitalizing those inputs, enriching our regional languages and our Sanskrit tradition as well. How it happened, all these things I could know. And in this juncture, I should remember with gratitude some of the great stalwarts of modern India, whose writings that helped me a lot in making myself a rounded personality. Apart from the great tradition of Vyasa, Valmiki, the Veda, the Upanishads, and Shankar Bhagavad-pada, his Advaita Vedanta, Vidyaranyana Swami, and many more. Of course, this great lineage is always there. Modern scholars like Professor M. Heriyanna, who was a visionary in both Darshana Shastras and Alankara Shastra, and then his Prashishya, Dr. K. Krishnamurti, whom I consider as my Manasa Guru, and had good fortune of interacting with him for decades and reading, studying his works and getting enlightened. And also Dr. V. Raghavan, though I had no good fortune of meeting him in person, all the works of Raghavan I could study. And then we have our contemporaries who guided me through their writings, like Professor S.K. Ramchandra Rao, for the Sarvatantra Swatantra from Karnataka, for the psychologist, and Vedantin, who knew Bauddha, Jaina, and other darshanas. So, though he hailed from Dvaita philosophy, his deep connection was in Advaita, and he was a painter, he was a sculptor, and he was a writer, he was a biographer, and then he used to comment upon the Vedas, Yoga, Sankhya, and other systems of philosophy. And he was a polyglot as well. And Rasa Narayana, another great person who was a musicologist, who had his first training in chemistry and became professor of chemistry. was a danceologist as well, and a Srividya practitioner of very high merit. And he knew many systems of philosophy. And then he integrated all that wisdom and enriched musicology as his main forte. And Dr. Padma Subramaniam, Padma Vibhushana awardee, who was a well-known dancer, at the same time a great dance researcher as well. Since 40 years, I have the good fortune of associating with her and then getting enlightened with regards to Shaastra and the other aspects of Indian art and culture. Incidentally, my interest in music, dance, painting, and sculpture, they made me pursue those arts to an extent so that I could know the know-hows and feel the pulse of those art forms. And that's why I could apply the technique of music in my poetry and technique of dance in my poetry, or I could adopt the concepts of painting and sculpture in my writing like that. This way of exchange of thoughts and exchange of ideas constantly happen, as you know, trying to speak about one Shastra in the language of the other. This is not to show off. This is only to show that how they are interrelated and how this intertextuality makes us know more and more about those Shastras in a greater detail. Here, some basic subjects have to be learned. Some fundamental understanding is very much needed in the course of learning, whether it is science and technology or our Shastras and arts. Because my basic training in colleges in engineering, I studied mechanical engineering and later did research in material science and metallurgy. Because of my science background, I could apply this logic, hardcore logic also to our Shastras, to our thought processes and get good results. At the same time, getting inspired from by our Shastras and our systems of philosophy and our arts and trying to visualize technology as well, so that how technology can aid in this regard and how the concepts of technology can be explained by using these anecdotes and these illustrations as well, and making technology or teaching technology more and more interesting. As I taught in several engineering colleges as well, I adopted this and become successful, and I could drive home the home truths of technology with the techniques of Indic learning. And here I get to know about 4 subjects, which I realized on my own. Fundamentally, anyone should have a considerable understanding of 4 main subjects. One is about the logical perfection, logical acumen, that is about science, physical or chemical, biological or psychological. So anyway, some science has to be studied. Science ultimately it is Shastra, Karkasha Shastra, where Maname Vyavahara is critical. And such a scientific understanding, preferably mathematical in nature, to sharpen our brains and to sharpen our logic, we need that. And then other one is normative science. These are all physical science, they are no more prescriptive. But normative sciences like sociology, economy, law, jurisprudence, and other such subjects, political science, they are normative in nature. We don't find any natural evidence for their dictums, for their postulates, but it is all common sense. And then the 4th one, arts. One and all should be having good taste for arts. If they become artists, it's much more welcoming. Here I again prefer classical arts, classical poetry, classical versification, classical music, classical dance, and classical sculpture and painting. And in music, because my background is Indian music, I could understand and appreciate both Carnatic Sangeetam and Hindustani Sangeetam. My music teacher, a very eminent musician of high repute, Dr. Nagvalli Nagaraj, she showed me subtleties of music in an amazing manner. And because of that, I could get to know about the Shadja Graha, that is the Graha as we call, tonic shifting by which virtue of which so many ragas can be generated. This becomes the crux of generating so many ragas, as Yajnavalka's father, Yajnavalka Devarata, used to create so many newer and newer yajnas by permutations and combinations. Likewise, by using the Shadjagra Veda, we can create so many ragas. And I could compose newer compositions also based on this Shadjagra Veda, so many new tillanas, kritis, and other things. This is how music became an area of aesthetic experimentation. And my understanding of Natya also came to help in this regard. And I could guide some of the researchers in this area as well. And then classical poetry is very important, because in classical poetry we have to follow the rules of grammar, prosody, poetics, and other things to the letter. In every respect, it should be perfect. As we know, our Alankarikas devote a big chapter for doshas, for blemishes, kavya doshas. So, flawless kavya is an ideal. To whatever extent possible, we could try in that regard, and we could struggle for that perfection. This would sharpen our mind and even polish the verses, and even polish the idea. In the case of modern poetry, an idea came, just write it in free verse. Because free verse has no constraint of prosody or meter, we can write it in any manner. But here, one Shardula Kridita, Vasant Tilika, or Matte Kridita, Champakamala, Utpalamala, one Arya, one Anushtupa, Malini, Dharani, Arpatvi, these are very, very beautiful meters. At the same time, they have a lot of restrictions, Yatisthana, Rasa, and other things. So, in that process, every time our idea is getting polished, new ideas come, and the old ideas will get modified, and some entirely new thing which will change the whole scenario, it will all happen. This way of contemplation is naturally for enrichment of the end product that will happen. And ultimately, the fourth subject, philosophy. For me, it is Advaita Vedanta, as expounded by Shankar Bhagavad in his Prasthanatraya Bhashyas. I could get so much of inspiration and so much of wisdom. And this remains the bedrock of all my pursuits and all my studies. Through the vision of Vedanta, I scanned every subject, every art, and every science that I've learned, and still I'm learning. And unless they are scanned in the under the light of Vedanta, their establishment will not be complete. Their existence will not be meaningful. This is what I found out. In that way, in that pursuit, I realized that Alankara Shastra is very, very close to Vedanta. And Alankara Shastra and Kavya, they come as the most beautiful and befitting illustrations to reveal the truths of Vedanta. And so, whether Nyaya, Mimamsa, Sankhya, and other Shastras may exist, but no Shastra is closer to Vedanta than Alankara Shastra. No Anubhava is closer to Vedanta than Rasa Anubhava. So, Rasanubhava through Sangeet, Rasanubhava through Shilpa, Rasanubhava through Chitra, Rasanubhava through Natya, Rasanubhava through Kavya. All this happened, and all that Rasa is one and the same. This is how I could synthesize all the Rasas. Though Bharata, Abhinavagupta, and Anandavardhana have given hints for the unified theory of aesthetics, that is Rasadhvani, Auchitya, and Vakrata, they come together, and Vibhava Anubhav, Vyabhichari Sanyoga, the Ratnishpati, this dictum, that is Rasasutra of Bharata, which is much, much greater than the equation of Einstein, E is equal to mc square, as it is connected to the concrete world, but this is with the abstract world. There, the four basic concepts of matter, energy, time, and space, they are unified. It's a very great achievement. But Bharata has unified Vibhava and Anubhava, Thai Bhava, Vyabhichari Bhava, Anubhava, Sattvika Bhava, and all other things. And this is a greater achievement as its subtlety is far more. And by applying this, we can realize the Rasa of Sangeeta, Rasa of Sahitya, Rasa of Nritya Gita, Rasa of Chitra Shilpa, and others, and all that Rasa is one and the same. This I did it for the IGNCA, and in the work which I edited, the art experience application of Rasadhvani, Auchitya, and Alankara to all basic art forms of India, this unified theory could be generated, and that could happen because of Vedanta. And while doing so, for the Rasa Siddhanta, unlike Abhinavagupta, who stopped with the Purusharthas, he showed a great path by revealing the basis of Purushartha behind the rasas, various rasas, Shringara taking care of Kama, and Veera taking care of both Dharma and Artha, and Shanta taking care of Moksha. I went further down. In the mundane world, we have Ahar, Nidra, Bhaimaitnani, these four instincts of every living being. and human being is also no exception to this. And here, through this, from this point, I could generate the Purusharthas, and from Purusharthas to Rasa. Like that, Purushartha, if somebody could question that as a construct, theoretical construct, I could go with the natural impulses and natural instincts of every living being. Like that, I could extend the theory of Rasa, and that happened because of the rootedness in Vedanta at one side, and also modern physics, chemistry, biology, zoology, botany, and other things in one way. This though modern learning and ancient learning coming hand in hand and guiding me. That's how I could unify the theory of Rasa Siddhanta. And this has been practically exhibited by me by conducting programs like Kavya Chitra Geeta Nritya, where myself writing poetry to any topic on this part, Ashu Kavita, and then similarly great painter like Dr. B.K.S. Verma painting then and there on this part the given topic, and Geeta, great musicians and singers singing that, including my revered teacher Nagvalli Nagaraj, singing the raga that is being suggested, the constraints, and nritya like that. So all these fundamental art forms, they were brought on the same stage, and spontaneity of them has been explored. And by doing so, the oneness of rasa in all of them, they could be realized. This is an experience. So this experience has been analyzed by me in my ratings, both in English and Sanskrit, and some of my ratings are available in Kannada also in this regard. And then everywhere I used to, my eye used to fall on the Shastra Sadbhava. In the words of Vagbhata, as I had a bit of understanding of Ayurveda also, in the fragment of his Ashtanga Hridaya, he says, Vate Pitte Shleshpashanto Chapatyam Tailam Sarpihi तैलम सर्पिः माक्षिकं चक्रमेण माक्षिकं चक्रमेण यतद् ब्रह्मा भाषते ब्रह्मजो वा कालिर्मन्त्रे वक्तृभेदोक्तिशक्तिः प्रक्षिप्रणीते प्रीतिश्चेन् मुक्त्वा चरकसुश्रुतौ भेदाद्याः किं न पठ्यन्ते तस्मात् ग्राह्यं सुभाषितम्. Like that, this going to the core and not being scared of scarecrows in the name of Shastra being manhandled and going away from Sampradaya and such things. More than that, understanding the true Sampradaya is very important. That I get to know from Bhagavad Pada Shankara's works themselves. We all know Shankar Bhagavad Pada says Sampradaya is very important. But at the same time, what is Sampradaya? In the Gita Bhashya Bhagavad Pada, he says, Sarvashastra Vidapi Asampradaya Vid Murkhavadeva Upekshaniya. Yes, but what is Sampradaya? In the Sutra Bhashya, he himself says, Ata Sampradaya Vidahu, Adhyaropavadabhyam Pancham Prapanchate. So the real Sampradaya of Vedanta is an Adhyaropavada. The same Sampradaya is being used for Alankara Shastra, Mukham Chandrabimbamiva, to explain this Upama Alankara. Face is equated with the orb of moon. The orb of moon is superimposed on the face. That is Adhyaropa. But we don't have all the properties of moon in the face. As moon will have a waxing period and waning period, and daylight, moon will not be seen like that. But nothing of that is in the face. But what is the common denominator there? Alhad Janakatva. So all the other attributes of moon, that is Amavasyayam, Tirohitaha, and Prataha, Nadrishyati, all these things have been kept away. So that is the Apavada has been done. Ultimately, Alhad Janakatva is the substratum that remains. As we know from the Tattvamasi Vakya Churcha in Sadvidya Prasanga, Sadvidya Prakarana of Chandogyopanishad, there we know Jahad Ajahal Lakshana is being applied. And again, going back to Sadananda's Vedanta Sara, this has been very beautifully explained. This is how the Jahad Ajahal Lakshana is happening, and that is the Acharapavada, that is the modus operandi that has been carried out. So every Alankara has to be seen in this light. Likewise, the modus operandi of Alankara Shastra is very close to Vedanta. Such things I could know. And what is the real Shastra, and what is the real Sampradaya, and what is the real Acharya, like that. And that's why Bhagavad Gita says Anubhava. But Anubhava is not subjective anubhava, that is Vyashti anubhava. It is Sarvatrika Nirvishesha anubhava, universal and non-qualified anubhava. And that's very important. Shastratvena Shastram Hina Pramanam, Anubhavagam Yatvacha Shastrasya Pramanyam, like that Bhagavad Pada says in Vradharnika Bhashya. And then he says, in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, in the beginning itself, he says, how नके न धर्म जिज्ञासायामेव श्रुत्यादयेव प्रमाणं ब्रह्म जिज्ञासायां किन्तु श्रुत्यादयः अनुभवादयश्च यथा संभवं यः प्रमाणम् अनुभवावसानत्वात् भूतवस्तुविषयत्वाच्च ब्रह्मज्ञानस्य अपि च अन्तिमिदं प्रमाणम् आत्मैकत्वस्य प्रतिपादकं नातः परं किञ्चित् आकाङ्क्ष्यमस्ति. Like that, in the Bhagavad Gita is saying, he is using the Shrauta Tarka or the Purna Tarka, as we say, Shrutyanigrahita eva Kshetra Tarkaha Anubhavangatvena Ashriyate, again quoting from Sutra Bhashya. And he also says, Veda Veda iti vachanat yashyate eva asmabhi shruterapyabhava prabodhe, again from the Brahma Sutra Bhashya. And then in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also we know Atra Veda, Veda, like that. So, questioning all the external validations and going to the universal experience which can never be contradicted, which can always be verified by anyone at any place at any time. That's why Jnapakam hi Shastram natu karakam iti sthiti, quoting from Brihadaranyaka Bhashya. Like that, these things that gave me a lot of strength and support, and that's how I could come with some newer concepts. And coming to my Avadhanam, where my Bahushastratva and Bahubhashatva helped a lot. Again, I have to remember my great mentor, Lanka Krishnamurti, very great scholar and a saintly person. He trained me in handling various sorts of Nishedakshara, Samasya Purna, Chitrakavitva, and other things. And he gave difficult samasyas which needed multifarious learning for solving. One example, Namaskaro, Namaskaro, Ahaskaro, Hitaskaraha. It is in Panchachamara meter. Namaskaro, Namaskaro, Yahaskaro, Hitaskaraha. It's a very cryptic samasya. This I could solve by using my learning of music, by using one anecdote connected with the raga Aheri, a very haunting raga and a very difficult raga as well. I could solve this samasya. And another samasya, Shashivadhanayam Chakasti Yatyoga Milanam. And for this, I used my learning of Chandas Shaastra. Incidentally, I recently, before a year or so, I completed one book that has been published, Chando Viveka, where I have analyzed more than some 60 meters and their nature and how the Chando Rasa is revealed through them, and Chando Gati Saundarya and such things. And then again, it is an interdisciplinary study, as one long appendix has been devoted to the relationship between prosody and raga, how certain Vitana Chandas like Champakamala, Ruppalamala, Shardula Vikridita, or Mandakaranta, Sadhara, Harini, Shikharini, Shardula Vikridita, Indravajra, Upendravajra, Vamshastha, Vyogini, Pushpitagra, Aparavatra, and many such meters, how the Grahabeda technique of raga is similar to that is seen in these meters also, and how they can be brought together, though not as an equation, they can be juxtaposed, and so the parallels can be seen. It's a very original finding. And there, the learning of music and learning of prosody, that helped me a lot. And of course, for that, I studied the Pand traditional music of the Thevarams that is available in Tamil Nadu, and also the basic concepts of Western music, and of course Hindustani music, and the 10 thoughts are being codified by Bhatkande, and of course the Venkatamaki Padhati of Mela Padhati, which finds its root in Swami Vidyaranya Sangeeta Sara, now extinct work, but its quotations are available. And the Makhis, Venkatamakis, Chaturdadi Prakashika, and then the later works show that the 72 Medakarta system and all these things helped me a lot. And for that, this interdisciplinary study was a very handy guiding light. Again, coming back to the topic, one more samasya. Ashvoso Nijatanayan Swayam Prasute, one male horse that is giving birth to many horses. And this samasya was solved by using my understanding of zoology and aquatic animals. And Himsa Parashankaraha, Shankar Bhagavad is a violent person. I took refuge in Vedanta and solved it. Shukra Kanyam Pravishtopi Kanyatvam na Vinashyati. For this intriguing samasya, I took the help of Jyotisha. Like that, even in the case of my Avadhana, Astavadhana, Satavadhana, I have often gone to various Shaastras. It may be Shauta Shaastra. I'm very much interested in Shauta as well. And the way the yajnas are being performed, that is an Aptoryama or Gavamaina or Vajpaya or Gishtoma, these Shastra, these Shrauta Yagas, and then their varieties and such things, they have also come to my help in solving such samasyas and bringing newer and newer ideas in compositions of Ashukavitva as well. And even in my novel Mandina Karasu, a novel where I combined Swapnavasa of Bhasa and Vrichakatika of Shudraka together with other plays. For example, the Pratigna Yugandharayana and the Tapasavatsaraja, and then Daridra Charudatta, and then Veena Vasavadatta. All these plays were combined together and a new historical novel was generated. In writing that, I took the help of so many Shastras, whether it is the ancient Indian geography or whether it is ancient Indian food system, food habits, or clothing, or all these things. Again, going back to the cultural studies. This I could do only because of my constant interest in cultural studies, started from the writings of Moti Chandra or Vatev Sharan Agrawala and others. This made me write. And then many of my stories and poems. Like that, wherever I lay my hands, there all these Shastras and all these languages and all these arts, they come to my help. And so I cannot think in an aloof manner. I cannot think in an isolated manner. This well-rounded thought is possible only because of our tradition and our value system and the Sanatana Dharma. Because Sanatana Dharma is such an amalgam of so many things. We all know it is universal. If at all nature can have a religion, it is Sanatana Dharma and Sanatana Dharma only. This I could realize at every moment, and that's why I had no difficulty in appreciating the marbles of Greek sculptors or Roman sculptors, or even the plays of Shakespeare, where I could see very clear parallels of Natyashastra. How Natyashastric plays, Natyashastric Dashrupa Prakarana has parallels with Shakespeare. So also with Greek mythology, how our Puranas are very much in common with Greek mythology and Roman mythology. This interdisciplinary study, not of one subject, so many subjects, so many arts, that is making my life every day enriching and every day rewarding. And I thank the organizers, especially Pathuriji and other people, for giving me this opportunity to share a few of my thoughts. Please once again forgive me for the frequent ugly reference of me, mine, I doing this, what to do. Kartatva Bhoktatva is a vidyaka, but by circumstances I am pulled into it, and so people will bear with it, and they would find something of use here. With that, I feel that Atmanam Dhanyam Manye. Thanks a lot. Namaskar.
What an amazing talk. Actually, this was the ideal way in which we expected an autobiographical presentation explaining how the life of a scholar helped that scholar in becoming such a polymath scholar. And with examples of his own Avadhanam performances and all that, he was able to bring it out very well. We have such, we are living during the time of such people. It gives us a great pride. Thank you very much, sir.